today the 17th of September 2022, 2023, me and Focus and send information for all the civilians, all the civilians as a whole. May they leave this love estate. We the expendable family will not go keep any nonsense. So this one I can do today, not just a sample. Me and Focus, we need to talk, we not do them. And we the expendable family will they have to protect the civilians. May any civilians may it life, may it leave this camp from today, Sunday that they talk, the 17th. I give the ending of this month, this September, may they leave this camp. This camp, I don't want my Umbara, me and this military. I don't say pamol no go. When we start talk, yes. So I beg all my people, all the people that from Ambazonia land, when I respect this order. Any man will of the estates, may respect the order. We feel much focus here. I've there for no top plenty. Thank you very much. Anybody like you like, may might not like you like. May stay. We will see next time.
We be prepared for wipe all them from 10 kobo. I don't see 3 eye boy them 3 for inside jam 3. They don't hold their own jam people captive 3 eye boy. It's a disgrace and shame for the elites there. It's a disgrace. Ikeku 10 kobo stone because they mix all with a baron. I want to send this one out there again for our elites. The picking there for DDR center when they command jam division, they don't tire. We don't talk say. Make our elites them, they give we support. We need to work in collaboration. We need to ask someone to give them money. We need to ask someone to give them a team. Just a little support. Amba don't radicalize that because send for bush now. Their life don't become expendable now. We prefer back to go back to that bush. We must make ultimate start. We want to make cities start and pamol. All access for inside Germany start. We be prepared. All what we need them for now only una support, una love. Una attention. That is for the little support we need from now. We are prepared for go back. We not talk to me you early to go. We not talk to me you say we will be prepared for going back down. The boys they are prepared to go back on the field to end this thing. I want to make una understand something. Now people who will make una fear Amba. Say Amba they know, but Amba don't die. So they can't tell you something. The very mind because they fear Amba. He don't tell you say no fear Amba. Amba na noise now. Now money they make up for bush. So I want our elites may they stand up. When I call una say when I come to agreement, my number, I get my number. When I call me, when I call una say those people didn't have center. They need not only small top up credit. They need small weighty mobile phone. They need things them for background. We need for do. We don't need no money. We need to get communication on ground. We need to get communication on ground. Anytime we want to take their activity, we get the information. My brothers and my elites, we are prepared to go back on ground. We want to stop all to start up. We know all their conscience. We know all their benefits. We are prepared to give our life back for what we don't spoil us. We be prepared for wipe all them from 10 kobo. I don't see 3 eye boy them 3 for inside jam 3. They don't hold their own jam people captive 3 eye boy. It's a disgrace and shame for the elites there. It's a disgrace. Ikeku 10 kobo stone because they mix all with a baron. 3 eye people arata them. My dear elites there. But papa there. Una take una phone start call picking the DDR center. People over the center with the wait for integration. There is no job. We are not doing nothing there. We want to go back to field. We go make our economy may stop. Una give we a contract. Una give that boy a contract. Even at 1 6 months, una make a see this and pamol start. Una go see the result. That is the truth. The una give the nation sitting the way they want for una go see the result. That is the reality. There are things that being done behind the scene where people already know. The reason why I tell us it's not too much for una. Doing all right in a kind letter, there is nothing. There is not encouragement. There is nothing. Just don't quiet. They die every day. People they suffer every day. I mean they cry every day. For this boy, the atrocities. They are making their money. 10 people will never give up. People will never surrender. People will never Nigerian man. Chief petit frère, I know it, Massa. More wipe all the boys them. We beg. We beg. We beg. We beg. We know how we go. We will go. We will go. We are doing what we want. We are doing what we want. We never ask we say we do anything. We not see Lebi Allen don't call so. We not say Lebi Allen corner by magic. Una feel say Lebi Ale we begin at the highest way Amba strong for the struggle of Amba. Only they wipe Ayeke. They will wipe other people. They don't know how they wipe them. There are things that they other people do, but they don't ever talk for me. That no one day that is the truth. The reason why they tell us to talk about it, we don't do nothing. We don't talk for behind the scene. There is no action. We need action. Time don't pass. The romantic tells the side bush. Time don't pass. You know what they do to make us say the Lebi Ale to the way they so. Ask me the tell now. Me I go Lebi Ale. You know what he pass for behind. You don't get idea. We don't talk about media. Now we na Oliver Lekiaka. Small Oliver, you know, we make even ordinary audio now, it does go inside cave. And no time of now will wipe it. My brother there. We know say the boy, they will know all their arrangement there. How do I go make their day she? We know say from do water to do water. They can't drink water for here. We don't need to go with far. We don't need to jazz down for water. We wait the American enter. Wipe all through the tram go with. That is the rescue. That's the reality. My exam. The ex-combatant them, they call and say, they beg. They be prepared for go back for Indian, for go fight back for end this thing. They want to go back for inside bush. Always will need them, now little support. No not talk say, may you Alex, you give them money. You never ask you million. You don't need no money, but they need now una support una there behind them. Look at me, I tell them, those boys they out of they gonna dispose now. Make me I tell them the truth. I'm gonna be one use them. For be an instrument for destroy una no. Now una turn for use that very boy them back as an instrument for build the country. For be the statehood back to our Indian division. That is the reality. Una reverse ways the way Amba don't do and back. Those boys the day for keeping. The day available. But una they run away from them. Una they forget that they shit down for their own zone. You should not go francophone zone. You enjoy yourself for Kankan hotel. They give you a job. There are people that die. You are not a good leader. A good leader is being for front, put them for back. A good leader is protect his own. But what you get about una bonjan, una instead run for back. Una push the people that made go die or finish. What you don't do. If you early, you feel convinced the people that made a vote for us and tell una. Same you feel make communication on ground. We need to make the ground hot for the boys there. We tell them so we are not joking. We mean business. We need make pamol see this work. You know me saying that general manager for pamol get for the struggle. You know me that general manager for cities get for the struggle. No, the hell is them. Those things are our resources. Now the responsibility. But this speaking they ask us, they ask them to say no. They want more una use them back as an instrument to build this country. For what more wipe other things they for good make the end. Mawe, Siam, there are two things involved. We know some begin to give up, but so I don't ever give up. But we only tell us a petit frère, if you not drop, they drop you. End of discussion. Listen, I ask the question, when an evil man for pray, the thing the way I was saying, I pray for God. Listen, nobody ought you to pray. You know the waiting. So you pray for God, so waiting. If you start praising, may evil man change. It takes 7 years for that man to do evil may change. You know how many souls will go travel down after 7 years before it change. You know there are certain things that you don't need to pray for. We don't need to go in action. We don't need to do an action. We don't need to pray. You pray for terrorists, they may change her. Go pray for nothing tomorrow. When God will give you the sense of listening and understanding, if you take the gospel, why that became an end? They just pray for waiting. End of discussion. We will not be interested for dialogue. Wait to our problem and say, wait, one go on ground. Go walk, wait to go ground. Go one tap. And they will not wipe all the food then. Then that time, anyone go dialogue, go side to. One for Washington, one for London, it concerns for it concerns Nahi. We will not need dialogue. What we will need enough work on ground. Forget about the diaspora. One work on ground. And una support. Una contact with for behind. We will talk am. You know go for the scene. Una know very well say anything una call me talk am. It end between me and una. Una no fine. Wait till una problem.
Our struggle is going down the drain. Cameroon is more comfortable than ever. The international community have completely cut off from every Ambazonian leadership that exists today. There is zero ability to gather political support because of this stupidity. The title for today's podcast, Na Overdone Nandutu. Overdone Nandutu. When you be so foolish, where you convince your own self, say your foolishness na wisdom, then na overdone be ndutu. Fellow Ambazonians, we don't see how our struggle be run into the ground, and somehow our people them feel say some of our people, I think the minority, then feel say, would he actually win na for win? Because say they don't see Ambazonia, then carry gun, they shoot and for road, then come out in their numbers. They don't begin double down on the same stupidity where they drag our struggle down the drain. For an untrained man, winning na noise. When fighting they go on, you just believe say would win. As the doubling down of this stupidity it go to happen, and our struggle it go to get into the no return path. Hear me and hear me carefully. I have an obligation to speak out the truth to our people for the trust and responsibility I have had from the beginning of this struggle, and those who have sacrificed their life ultimately putting their trust in me, knowing that I will continue with the baton. I have an obligation to my conscience to speak the truth irrespective of the circumstances. This struggle is not about opinions. It is about the reality of our possibilities to win or not to win. Many times I put out things, people think I'm sharing my opinion. No, I'm just giving you people relative facts based on data and activities that are going on within the international community. Ambazonian struggle and fighting on the ground successfully depends on our political capital and ability to catch out on the fighting on the ground. When there is zero possibility for us to catch out on the capital from the fighting on the ground will become useless and will be a waste of life and a waste of time. Hear me and hear me very carefully. Because some non-entities have declared lockdown for 2 weeks, useless lockdown that is illogical, and soldiers have come out to shoot randomly, and Ayabacho have also taken advantage to gain some alignment with previously radical and stupid elements which have rejected him. Some people have the sense that this is the right path to follow and this is actually winning. They are also doubling down on it, and their confusion is making them to become delusional, spilling out stupid theories that have no bearings or any reality under them. They have become like people in the full gospel church that make prophecies by themselves and try to fulfill those prophecies. Testimony have become people's imagination of their own fictions. Fellow Ambazonians, listen to me and listen to me very carefully. Ambazonian fighters are now firmly under the hands of Cameroon intelligence services that are working through their network of economic interests. From the people who are receiving money from Brassaris Ban to those who are receiving money from CDC, those who are receiving money from Supermon, and those who are receiving money from petroleum. These are the reasons why our soldiers are acting the way they are. Ask yourself, why can our soldiers not focus to fight La Republique? Why would our soldiers not be able to mobilize to challenge Diongute when he visited Buea to conduct the Grand National Dialogue Part 2 in our capital Buea and stay there for 2 weeks? Our soldiers are firmly in the hands of La Republique du Cameroon, and they are driving the struggle to the direction which they wanted to. The political agenda of those who are collecting money or who are facilitating the money that our soldiers have been collecting from economic operators that are working in synchronology with La Republique du Cameroon. I have already provided you enough information to know that Cameroon coordinates the people who are paying money for the Brassaris sales, the people who are paying money for Supermon, the people who are paying money for CDC, and all the other petroleum, you can name it and call it. La Republique is firmly in control. And what have these people have their influence to do with our soldiers? It has been to radicalize our soldiers, push them to carry out policy that are illogical, that will isolate them from the general public. This policy may sound good or even normal to the mind of an untrained person or an illiterate, political illiterate, because most of those policies are policies that relies on using fear and intimidation of our population rather than using mobilization and sensitization to our population. For an untrained mind, he will think that by using that force, that way of force, that logic of force over your own people, you will end up winning. On the contrary, we do not have the necessary power to be able to use the logic of fear and intimidation against our own population and succeed, because we are not strong enough. Eventually, we will isolate our population from our own soldiers, and the Cameroon government will be able to use that same population to overpower our soldiers. It is notably by Ambazonian soldiers themselves on the ground and our activities on the ground that the Cameroon military made a choice not to challenge Ambazonian soldiers who implemented this lockdown. As a matter of fact, they withdraw themselves and allow the lockdown to go and Ambazonian soldiers to come out. Ambazonian soldiers were motivated by indicators that we know on the ground that are being influenced by the Cameroon military, because they know that this lockdown, all this fighting will help them in the long run. Ask yourself, the information that came from the Cameroon governor's office, who was called to go and challenge Ambazonian soldiers who were blocking an important road in Santa Inakum. The information was that it was rejected. Even monitors within quarter heads and within traditional rulers' charters that we picked up showed that requests were made, several requests from high-level people for Cameroon to intervene and remove the roadblock from Akum Road, and they refused because they know that in the long run, this lockdown have accomplished two things for them. First, this was the year that we could seal the idea in the international community that our school boycott does not involve Cameroon government school, because when you are perceived as against education of your own children, nobody will listen to you. As a matter of fact, you will be losing ground internationally. This year, we could have sealed that deal in the mind of our people and the international community by allowing and not interfering or blocking schools to show that only Ambazonian schools are going. And the statistic that shows that 46% of schools in Ambazonia are not going are in line with the fact that 46% of schools in Ambazonia are Cameroon government schools. Today, that statistics that we could benefit from have now benefited the enemy to show that schools are not going. There is no distinction as a result of this stupidity of this lockdown. Some delusional people have even come out and said that the type of gun that was used was not normal gun. This is crazy. Our people should not lose their sanity. Stupidity will increase as Ambazonian will be losing the more. Listen to me very well. Remember when Grandpa in Bali, his camp was allowed to grow to become the biggest in Ambazonia? Remember the people who were influencing him the most. How many roadblocks he put in Bali. Immediately, Grandpa starts to mobilize population, starts to withdraw himself from receiving advice from these so-called advisors on ground zero or godfathers from ground zeros who are middlemen between those who are paying monies. Grandpa became attacked. The camp of Grandpa became divided. Eventually, he was reduced to something that he must now succumb to those forces again. Make no mistake, diaspora have nothing to do with what is happening on ground zero. Those who have declared this lockdown have nothing to do with its effectiveness. Today, I'm hearing they are trying to double down to ban travel agency. Good luck with that. Our people are not doing anything because they are listening to anybody right now. They have just been confused because Ambazonian leadership have lost control. We have lost the ability to control policies, lost the abilities to those who are influencing over our soldiers. And I heard today people are saying that soldiers are going to be paid salary. These are all the type of political posturing that we use to deceive our own soldiers to gain their loyalty. Remember, when Seseko said that we are going to sponsor teachers, that we were going to adopt teachers, it was not something that was supposed to happen. It was to enable us to raise funds to be able to fight. So when you are hearing people saying that they are going to pay Ambazonian soldiers, are they not using the same lies that have never worked in the past? We used to accuse Sako and Chris Anu that they are lying about money that have been donated to give the impression to soldiers that they have money. And those soldiers will come to them because of that money. And they will use them wrongly because they have wrong influence over them. Today we are doing exactly the same. Our diaspora do not even know about money in the coffers of every camp, let alone they will be able to pay salaries of soldiers. Give our people a break and stop the lying. Nothing have been built on lies that have succeeded. We have enough examples for these 7 years to not play this dirty game with the mindset of our people. We should be strong on principle and stop playing partisan politics and political scavenging with a game of becoming dominance that will end and lead us nowhere. Our struggle is going down the drain. Cameroon is more comfortable than ever. The international community have completely cut off from every Ambazonian leadership that exists today. There is zero ability to gather political support because of this stupidity. But because it gathers some relevance within some quarters, they are doubling down on losing strategies that will make us to get into a path of no return. Remember, they had brought Ayabacho and the ADF to start cutting ID cards of people in Ground Zero. It looks good, but the end was disaster. Remember, they were deceiving our soldiers not to allow community school to go ahead. This struggle will not end because the fighting will stop or Ambazonian soldiers will stop. The struggle ends when there is zero international interest or support for the struggle. Then we can fight as much as we want, nothing will happen. Pobia will be comfortable. But for some people, they think that the fact that you are fighting or we have Amba boys, it means that the struggle is continuing. No. Remember the Lord's army in Uganda. They are still alive today. They are still in the bushes. But what are the chances for them to succeed? So do not be deceived, especially when we are losing life. Keep your sanity intact. The sad thing is that Ayabacho, who was seen as somebody who is reasonable, who had listened to me and had put his heart on intelligence to fight against this ill, have also now joined the fray and go back to his old ways. Today, the ADF have become full-time kidnapping forces in Bamenda. I announced to you people that our heroes in Bamenda, our ADF soldiers, they kidnapped the international lawyer, the United Nations attorney's lawyer, Peter Tafa, who came to Bamenda back on retirement. They came to his office and kidnapped him. It was done by our ADF Commander General, Commander Omega, sorry to say. This is somebody who worked as a prosecutor in the International Criminal Court in Tanzania. He was kidnapped. I gave Ayabacho's number and make sure that he was contacted, and he was informed that the ADF have kidnapped Barrister Tafa. He called Barrister Tafa in captivity and tell Barrister Tafa that he is an enabler, somebody who have done no crime. Not at all. If he has actually done something, he supported appeal to the International Criminal Court for prosecution about crimes in Ambazonia against Pobia. These are the people who brought in the prosecutor of the ICJ to visit Abobala when he was in prison. These are people that have respect within our elite. He was arrested, Ayabacho court, get involved, and he was released after paying ransom of 2 million with a promise to pay another 1 million. Is this what you are fighting for? If you are supporting the Ague of Sea, you have become an accessory to kidnapping for ransom. This have nothing to do with crimes. This have nothing to do with tax. This is kidnapping for ransom, and Ayabacho have become the kidnapping kingpin. And it will get worse until he will step into the arena of war crimes, and the Waterloo, the chickens will come down to roast. Everybody will answer for their crimes against our people. These things will only double down. The Ague of Sea head in China, Prince, who have donated money, mobilized the people of China to contribute money to our struggle, is losing his mind. He is sick. He's somebody with over 8 children in China, and Ayabacho was called to ask for help, and this was his response.
Issue concerning the Ague of Sea, reach out to Ague of Sea officials. You people should stop bugging me with left and right small problems here. I'm leading a war. I'm not a manager. I'm very sorry.
So Ayabacho is so busy in Norway leading a war. Well, Ambazonia. I will play some of audios of the presentations of Ebenezer Kwanga.
We think that if we act stupidly, if we speak foolishly, it will make us to be respected. It will make people to think that our unwise arrogance is, how do I put it? Is mark of maturity in going toe to toe with La République du Cameroon. It doesn't work that way. So that has been our biggest problem. Our problem were amongst us leaders. Some of us, in fact, At times I sit, I ask myself, how do I even associate myself with some of these people? We speak without control. We don't understand that for us to win this war for the good of our people, we don't only have to develop leadership quality as we go along. We have to understand the strength of one another and use it to our fullest. And we should be careful with the way we speak. We should be careful. You cannot go and take a position where you are explaining to the rest of the world that yes, the other side is not respecting the Geneva Convention. I too will not respect it. No normal human being, no man, not even Putin, with all the atrocities in Ukraine, will want to do anything directly or indirectly to accept responsibility for what is happening in Ukraine. What have we done in this struggle? We see people do this. When you try to advise them behind, they don't listen. You come to the public, they send all types of hawks and kites who will come around and throw insults and say, who do you think you are? What are you trying to say? No. It is because if I, Ebenezer, in this struggle, carry myself in the wrongful manner or do something that is not okay, I swear before God and man, it will not only affect me directly, which of course will affect me, it will have a negative implication to the entire struggle. This is what most of us don't understand. We don't get it. We don't get it. We think that I can just come out and do anything. After all, it's just going to be an APLM stuff. It will not have anything to affect the greater struggle in any form. No! Struggles don't work that way. That is why if I go out and I act in a funny way or I say things that are not okay, those in the West and others who communicate are going to make calls to some of you and say, hey, what is wrong with that man? Is he okay? Why should he speak this way? Does he know that he's endangering the entire struggle? He's making you people to lose ground? It is not everybody who said those things. It is me who said it. And then they will have to turn to others and say, no, you guys have to call this person to order. But you know in this struggle we are all volunteers. Who are you going to call to order? I said something is stinking and it's really smelling.
It is really smelling indeed. When una hear people the way they be involved in high level diplomacy and representation of our country and of our liberation struggle, they come out and say this thing, you should wise up and you should open your eye. When the international communities are calling and tell you people you are destroying your own chances, you should open your eye. Remember the story of Foya in Bamenda, when the kidnapping for ransom was going to over the roof. They were kidnapping even teenagers. They were going around catching people with the hand on the road, like people ready to follow people for cash for hour, carrying them to go and keep them in camps in Foya. The Cameroon military knew about it. Our population even marched to go there. They say, now una own picking and that. Now una fight, una leave them. Una go fight with them. Until it reached a level where they could roll out their policy of trying to use our population to overpower our soldiers. Then they step in. Remember, when you talk about guns, Ringenge, the boys in Foya, they were the most armed amongst all Ambazonian soldiers. But the roots of our struggle in Foya, in Quen, till today, have been uprooted. The table had turned. Our people were so disgusting of what was happening in Foya that they regretted the day they called the name Ambazonia. Till today, as I'm talking to you, no matter what you are talking, our people want freedom, of course, but they just look at you and laugh. They say that will not thing. It starts from that will not thing. Today, we are putting a stupid lockdown for 2 weeks, blocking economic, stopping our business to open their door for 2 weeks. Even La Republic, they are encouraging soldiers to go, Ambazonian soldiers to go, una go show una skin for outside. Una go show una skin for outside. And some of our people, they don't even, those who are calling themselves activists, who are supposed to be wise and cautioning our people, because the Bible says sometimes there are things that looks good unto a man, but the end is disaster. They should be warning our soldiers, telling them that, have you thought this thing through? October 1st is coming just down next week. Have you thought this thing through? We kill our own civilian, we execute them and burn them alive in Kumba. And our people, those who have stood with me to fight for our people's interests, who have stood with me to fight against assassination of our people on Ground Zero, they even come on social media, they are celebrating. Hey, we win. People that boy they see something. It's sweet. Without thinking about the ramification. I remember when some of their family members were killed, how they cried. And today, you see our own people being killed by our own. And you don't even think about the ramification that will come after. Of course you don't. Because you have been blinded by group allegiance, partisanship, so much that you have sit on top of your brain. We had accused the Sarko's people and the people of the IG of incompetence, inability to hold their leadership to account and to come back to their senses and put Ambazonia first, because they were so partisan. It was either their leader or their group or nothing else. Today, we are doing the same.